Hey, what's going on, YouTube? It's your boy D1D. So, there's been a lot of comments about this, and I wanted to just take the time to make a quick video to address it. So, the slacking video popped off, and I just want to show you guys the tool I used to get that ROM. And I've replied to some comments regarding it, and what I used was the Sanqui Randomizer. That's Sanqui, Sanqui Randomizer. If you type it in Google, it's the first page that pops up, and this is the home page. So let's go ahead and just click on Pokemon Red here. And this will bring up the actual randomizer. So you can, change things. The settings that I use specifically are I click include Pokemon from later generations. And down here, you'll see it goes up to Gen 6. So obviously for Slaking, I clicked, Gen 3, and it's a lot of trial and error. You can't pick your starter. So, for starter Pokemon, you're going to do random. If you do random basics, it's going to give you first form Pokemon. Um, Single random, it's just going to give you the same starter for all three. And then 3-stage basics. I've never clicked that one, but I'm going to imagine that it gives you Pokemon that have three stages of evolution. So the settings, I click random. Special stat conversion. This was one that I got a lot of comments on asking. So you can choose to use a special attack, special defense, the higher of the two stats, a random stat, or to average them. But keep in mind this also affects trainer Pokemon, which is why I say, Bruno's Hitmons have 110 special. Because in, modern Pokemon, they have 110 base special defense. So when I hit higher stat, which I use for my runs, it gives them 110 base special, which in a way buffs Bruno and, makes him tougher. I mean, we saw the slacking video, we saw the Arceus video. He beat me once. Yeah, it sucks, but for the one random guy who said like I needed to redo the run and do right by slacking and, said it would haunt me if I didn't, he's banned now, so he can't really see this, but this is for you, buddy. Anyway, you can click stuff here too, like, you can click to randomize the trainer Pokemon, wild Pokemon, the gift Pokemon. You can randomize the move set. Start with attacking move. This is one I always use, but you don't always start with an attacking move, I'll say that. Um, I once generated a ROM that gave me Regis, and this was actually last October, and I was like, this would be a badass Pokemon to use for Halloween. And, I booted up the ROM, and it only knew Haze. And I was thoroughly disappointed. I was like, this really sucks. Always start with 4 moves. This is also one I use. It's also one that, you don't always start with 4 moves. Obviously, Slacking only started with Scratch. Darkrai started with Disable, and then I used Game Shark to modify its moveset. Arceus only started with Seismic Toss. So you don't always have that. As we move on here, no HMs or broken moves. That's one that I keep on there, but you can see all moves, no HMs, no broken moves. I just put that on there. I feel like it seems fair. Um, One thing I want to point out too is that, if you ever decide to, do a Sanqui run for yourself, you might notice like, hey, my Pokemon can learn like every HM. Like, what is up with that? And that's because, this is a randomizer. It's, built to where you don't soft lock yourself. And another thing I should point out too is that, because it goes up to Gen 6, it doesn't cater to every Pokemon. So, Dialga, who is a ROM that I've generated, it's not going to have Roar of Time. Gym Leader Matt's actually done a run of Dialga and Palkia and Giratina, so, if you're not subscribed to Gym Leader Matt, I would check out some of his old Sanqui runs, but he's at that point where he can code his own ROMs. I know Scott's at that point where he can do the same. Um if you watch Squidgy and his Pokemon Crystal runs, I know he's gotten assistance from Snowy Totodile. I believe Kangas Dan also helped out too, if I'm incorrect there, apologies. But I believe they both did, or maybe it was just Snowy, I don't know, but those are all folks that, are able to, they're at that level where they can, kind of code their own ROMs and, backport or cross gen whatever Pokemon they want. And, it's great. I'm not there yet. I'm still working on it. So bear with me as I learn. But we're going to continue through this. Randomize the moves TMs teach. That's one I don't use. I like the basic TMs that are in red and blue. Shuffle overworld sprites. I actually got a comment that told someone, hey, if you Google the Sanqui Randomizer, you'll see this tool. And they were like, bet. And they said that the rival was a fish. And I thought that was kind of funny. Anyways, we're going to continue on. Field items, you can shuffle them, all that. And then we get to this bottom part. So things I use. Pokemon Trade Evos at level 42. I don't have this one checked because I haven't used like a middle stage or, like a Pokemon like Onyx who evolves via, an item traded. But, if you were doing, let's just say you wanted to do like a vanilla red and like include that. But I'm pretty sure that's also on like the, Universal Pokemon Randomizer, so you wouldn't have to do that. Update types to X and Y. That is one I do check. Just because I like having the steel types, the fairy types, the dark types, all that. And, having bite be a dark move. I just like it. That's my personal preference. Update moves to X and Y. That's another one I have. Add new moves. Another one I click. It adds a few, like I have an unreleased Gardevoir video that's, I filmed 9 months ago now. And Gardevoir starts with Moonblast. There's a few other moves that are added in, like I believe Crunch is a move that's added in. I can't really think of too many right now. But actually a few. Shadow Ball and Dark Pulse. I've gotten a few comments on how Agatha's Gengars, got updated movesets and what's up with that. Lorelai's Dugong has Signal Beam. Sabrina's Venomoth has Signal Beam. Misty Starmie has Hydro Pump, and I think they're going off of the Gen 6 learn sets. Don't quote me on that, but one thing to keep in mind with the Sanqui tool as well, that it hasn't been worked on since 2019, so I guess, take all that with a grain of salt. Yellow gym leader levels though, that's one I don't click. Just because like I said, I try to keep the game semi-vanilla-ish. I know, adding later gen Pokemon like Slaking without Truant, how is that vanilla? But, I digress. And then instant text speed. This is one I've started to click. Just because, quicker text is nice. And then, you can name your ROM like me usually. I believe I said in the comments once, I just kind of name it. Or I didn't say it in the comments, but I generate some when I'm at work on my lunch break. Just because it's an hour of nothing for me to do. Just an hour to relax. So, I just like to kind of name them, Sanqui and then like give a number, like in this case, 1. And I have a lot of ROMs generated from back in October. In October, the company I worked for at the time, they were downsizing, so unfortunately I was part of a layoff. And then one day, after just job hunting for a few hours, I was watching something on YouTube and I was like, you know what, I'm going to generate a bunch of these ROMs, see if I get anything good. But, let's go ahead and, what do we got selected here? Gen 3. Let's go with Gen 4. Let's generate a few ROMs and see what we get. I'll meet you back here. Okay, so I've booted up one of 4 Sanqui ROMs that we got. Let's just go new game. And there's a Giratina sprite. Let's see what we get in this one. I believe I picked Gen 4. Just because I can't lie, I've had my eye on Regis for some time, and I would love to get a Regis ROM. So these are with the settings we picked. First Pokeball, we get Onyx. One thing I want to mention too, I think I had this mentioned in the randomizer, but just in case I didn't, let me switch back over to that window. So when you select your source generations, Gen 1 always has to be clicked. For some reason, whenever I unclick it, I always get like errors, and like I'm just trying to go for, let's say, a Pokemon from Gen 4, it like never works. So I find you always have to click Gen 1 plus whatever gen you're going for. That's the easiest way I found to try to get the mon you're going for. But enough of that. Let's switch back over to Retro Arch. Let's see what's in ball number 2. Vileplume. All right, so we've gotten 2 Gen 1 Pokemon and Gyarados. Okay. So I will go ahead and boot up the second ROM now. Okay, so we actually got some cool sprites. We had a Drifloon sprite. We had Darkrai. Let's see if we can. There's Hippowdon, Hitmonchan, Tentacool, Bastiodon, Vespiquen. There's one. There's Drifloons. Hitmonchan again. It's not going to show Darkrai again. All right, so let's go ahead, just get into this second one. The coloring is a lot different. Did I boot up a different core? I must have. All right, so we got Scorpy. There we go. We've got Machoke and Voltorb. So let's go ahead and pick Scorpy, which one thing I want to point out too with this randomizer is, because this Pokeball normally belongs to Charmander, the rival's going to pick Squirtle's Pokeball. So therefore, we would be facing Squirtle if we did a run with Scorpy. So I know I've had questions too on previous runs where like, hey, why didn't you have the rival pick this mon instead? That is why. And every time we pick a new ROM, like we need to generate a new ROM in order to get, different Pokemon. Maybe they'll spawn in a different position. Because I know with my Johto starter series, Typhlosion actually had to go up against Charizard, where Feraligatr had an easy time with Charizard, and Meganium went up against Blastoise. So let's see our Scorpy's moveset and sprite. Some Pokemon also don't have back sprites. Scorpy does have a back sprite, so that's cool. Poison Sting, Bite, which is a dark type move, and Leer. Okay, let's just go for Poison Sting. Hey, we poison it. Okay, let's speed this up. Okay. So, what do you say we see what we got in our third ROM? Okay. Third ROM booted up here. Hey, Chimchar, Bonsly, Chimchar again. Butterfree. That looks like Magmortar. That would be a fun one to do. Dragonite sprite. Red, blue. We just want to get to Professor Oak's lab to see what we get. Okay. Pokemon. What about me? Meow. Okay, that's a cool one. Garchomp. That is a badass Pokemon. Bronzong. Holy shit. Okay, so we got 3 Pokemon from Gen 4 on this ROM. Because I actually have a Garchomp ROM already generated, I actually want to pick the Bronzor here. And because Charmander's Pokeball is there, Bronzong would actually have theoretically the hardest matchup for it. Tackle, Confusion, and Hypnosis. Okay. So let's look at our Bronzong. 14 attack, 18 defense, 9 speed, 16 special. That's actually not a bad sprite. Let's reload real quick. Let's pick Garchomp. Let's see what Garchomp has. So we picked Bulbasaur. That's not a bad looking back sprite. Sand attack, Oh, Dragon Rage. Oh yeah, this thing's gonna be OP. Well, I mean, Gym Leader Matt did a Garchomp video using the Sanqui tool, and I remember seeing that and being like, holy shit, like Garchomp fucking mows down red and blue. But let's reload again. Let's pick Glammeow. Let's see what Glammeow has. Tackle and Scratch. Okay. And I mean, another thing you can do with these ROMs as well, you can use Game Shark codes with them. So if you wanted to give yourself, infinite money and, like 100 rare candies just to see, like, kind of what a Pokemon could do, I mean, that's definitely a smart thing to do. What do you say we boot up the last ROM here and just see what we get? All right. Let's see if we can get something out of lucky number 4. Palkia Sprite, Glammeow again, Empoleon. I actually have an Empoleon ROM generated because I want to do those. That was Chingling. Staravia or Staraptor by chance? Hitmonlee, Magneton, Bidoof, Ninetales, Gengar, Chingling again, Empoleon again. Okay, let's get into it. Arcanine, okay. All right. Vespiquen, okay. That's a Gen 4 mon. Haunter, okay. Rhyhorn, okay. So this one, I have a Vespiquen ROM actually generated, so let's go ahead and pick Vespiquen. What's its moveset? Gust, which is actually a flying type in the Sanqui tool. Poison Sting, Confuse Ray. Let's go ahead, confuse you, and just take you down. So because the Sanqui tool, doesn't cater to like every single individual Pokemon, Dialga's not going to have Roar of Time. Palkia's not going to have its, signature move. Reshiram and Zekrom, 2 that I hope to do one day. They're not going to have, Fusion Flare or I think, what's Zekrom's called? Fusion Bolt? And what is Vespiquen's attack order? You can tell, like, I'm so bad with, like, modern Pokemon moves and shit like that. But yeah, I hope this video explained, the Sanqui Randomizer tool in, better detail. If you guys still have questions on it, hit me in the comments. This is going to be a unlisted video, so, anyone that has questions of how these runs work or how I do them, this is how. And yeah, I'll catch you guys when the next Sanqui run is out. Take care.